So you hang out in 1920s Berlin as a swarm of bats?
Sometimes, yeah. Depends on my mood.
Joe has a strict policy that only people in 1920s garb and accurate role-playing attire may actually enter the sim.
Okay, I won't go there again.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Not bats, anyway. No, I just didn't know.
You just need to dress those bats in a three-piece suit.
Give them each a suit. That'd be awesome.
So how many suits would that be? Like 100?
Oh, at least, yeah. Never counted the bats. I'm Void Pointer Linden, and you're listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. I'm back from Mountain View, California, here with Joe in 1920s Berlin in our little attic broadcasting studio in Second Life. Hi, Joe.
Hello, greetings from the greatest country in the world.
Oh, you mean Holland?
Of course.
Well, I heard at the Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference, a different country was invoked by one Palmer Luckey, that the US of A was the greatest country in the world and the virtual reality needs to be exported to you.
No, thank you. I live in a really, really lovely place.
So what's the moral imperative of virtual reality and the metaverse then? Okay, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yes, sorry about that.
So it was funny, Void Pointer, who you heard on the station ID, he will be on next time. I spoke to him, a fabulous guy. He implemented Oculus into Second Life.
Loves virtual schnapps.
Let's go traditionally sequentially. Today, our report from the first ever Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference and Expo at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, organized by the never sleeping Carl Krantz and his team. It was really fabulous. I brought my intern along who tried almost all the toys. You couldn't believe it. Virtual business meetings, virtual chat, skiing.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Watching movies together and dancing and listening to music.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what was possible in VR.
If only there was some sort of virtual online world where you could already do all those things.
And maybe also make it yourself.
No, that's impossible.
We're running the risk of putting off a lot of listeners. No. It was really great, and we'll go into detail with it because there was a lot of innovative stuff, and it's a really, really great time for this VR research. And it was great to see Linden's there also mingling and talking to people and reminding people, that there is this world out there that is just so enormously huge.
That's the nasty kind of person I am. That's what I would do if I was a Linden. I would, walk up to all these displays and all these companies and stand there and just very quietly say, oh, that's nice. We've been doing that for a decade.
In a nutshell, what Second Life has to offer in its combination of things, obviously nothing like that was offered. They were all very singular experiences. Some of them were really fantastic. We'll get to that in a minute. And also, I will be talking today to James Iliff, a taped interview from Servios, a very interesting company, very tight-lipped guy, friendly guy, but they're cooking up something that they can't talk about. But we'll hear that interview later. And again, Kaleo, the little Drax, tried everything, and he was quite critical.
I don't know where he gets that from.
The DK2, by the way, it was not to his liking, and other things were much more to his liking. So very interesting stuff.
Remind the listener, what's the DK2?
Oculus Rift Dev Kit 2. Housekeeping notes, please subscribe to the show on Stitcher. Stitcher is absolutely the greatest. Well, I'm a big fan. As a big radio and podcasting fan, you can get in touch with us with Skype, Draxfiles, email radio@draxfiles.com. Send us an in-world message if you want to get in touch as well. Our Leap Motion giveaway was sort of dragging on for a couple weeks now. Well, we do have a winner.
Yay.
And the winner is Madame Thespian Underhill.
What a fantastic name.
Congratulations, madame. The answer was Munich or München, of course, a very nice place in Second Life as well, by the way. We're going to stop the Leap Motion giveaways now for a while and resume as soon as Leap is integrated natively. And once it's done, then we're going to give away Leap Motions again on a weekly basis. But then what is cool, you can really try it out in Second Life right away, and you can give us feedback. Now, Joe, speaking of the Leap Motion, you found a really amazing application for the Leap. I just want to mention this. It's a way where deaf-mute people can communicate with people who have hearing.
It's really brilliant. They just glued a Leap Motion onto a sort of a tablet. That's what the young people call it these days. And it pretty much picks up hand gestures, sign language, and translates it into voice. And that is fantastic. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a deaf friend, and we pretty much spent our entire lives together. Her teaching me rude hand gestures. But imagine if you have this, you can communicate with people who don't know sign language within seconds. There's don't have to write down, make messages.
It's a really fluid way of communicating. There's a video, we will link to it. You see the speaking person, the person speaks, his speech is transferred into text, it's seen on the tablet. The deaf mute person does sign language, and the sign language is then translated back into voice. It's just amazing. This just in, before we go to the meat of the show, Second Life is Oculus ready. We've been trying it, we've been reporting on it, but now it's officially out there.
I hope lots of people out there who are in Second Life and have the Oculus are going to try it out and are going to let us know what they think. If you've got one of those and you've tried it, give us a call and let us know.
And also listeners who are not in Second Life. I mean, if you have an Oculus and get this viewer, get an avatar, and go in and experience it. You're blind, so you have to deal with the, how do I type? How do I communicate with text?
If only we knew sign language.
Right.
Then we could combine the previous subject with this one and translate sign language into Second Life chat.
The next thing that you posted yesterday, that Oculus has confirmed that they're working on putting a camera that is out-facing so they can track your hands. People realize we do need at least the option to see what's happening, A, in the real world, and B, have this as additional maybe tracking of our hands. Or if I were to speculate, the future will be maybe something where we can wander through Berlin in real life and have an overlay
I'm sure of it.
The 1920s, let's say. And we have NPCs popping up as they were in the period. By the way, there's a great novel, Rainbow's End, which probably a lot of people already read, Werner Vinge, and he describes exactly that with contact lenses.
Part of that is already possible with smartphones, where you can point your camera at something and you can see a picture of what it used to be like overlaid on top of it.
So augmented reality is not dead. Real quickly, another thing, Oculus is being sued. John Carmack, who is the CTO, he moved from a company called ID Software to Oculus, and it's alleged that he took some pretty nice trade secrets with him and implemented them. Oculus says, of course, no IP from ID Software has been used.
Yeah.
So they're going back and forth. Inara Pay has an article about this. We're going to link to it. Now, Joe, I went to SVVR on the second day to moderate my panel, and I'm not going to talk a lot about the panel because the full video is available online. We'll link to it. I moderated the panel creating the VR metaverse. What happened on Monday? You heard Palmer Luckey.
Everybody wants to live a perfect life. Everybody wants all of the things that make them happy, and there's only so much stuff in this world to go around, and there's more and more people to take out of those things that only have so much to go around. For us, sitting here in the best country in the world, and in the best state in this country, it's easy for us to say that it's easy for us to say, virtual reality is not as good as the real world, so why would I want to spend my life in it? But there's a lot of people around the world who don't necessarily have lives that are as good as ours.
It was really strange to listen to. Perhaps Americans are more used to that sort of thing.
So that's Palmer Luckey. He's being cheered when he says USA, USA. I have to admit, of course, this soundbite is totally out of context, but is that really what virtual reality should be about? Should it be to make everyone want to live in Orange County, which incidentally is where Palmer is raised? And my personal opinion, I don't like Orange County. I'm on the record. California is fabulous, but Orange County is hell.
I wouldn't know. I've never been to America, and until they bring back Zeppelins, I'm not planning on going there anytime soon. But it's a bit odd. Besides the cultural difference, there is this idea. He seems to have this idea that virtual reality is all about escapism. That's the main thing, and most of the world will only want to use virtual reality to escape their horrible real life, which I'm sure for lots of people is true. millions of people used to enjoy watching Dallas, see how the rich and famous live. And if you go to Second Life, you will see that.
I think it's the combination escapism and consumerism and just keeping this sort of engine going, as he was suggesting. Again, we're taking this out of context, but he was suggesting that people just want to basically consume and they want sort of the bling bling, and that's why we have to give it to them.
Of course, he's right, but it is such a one-sided view of it, which is a bit of a shame from someone who has such a big part to play in the whole thing. But it did make me think about how amazing it will be for someone who, for instance, is living in Rio de Janeiro in the slums, if they one day can afford one of those VR headsets. What if someone who's lived in absolute poverty for most of their lives will actually get a virtual life where they live in a massive villa?
I don't know. I can't speak for someone who lives in a slum. I fight for a lot of social issues in my private life, but I would like to see, for example, something that you are doing. When somebody who is not exposed to, let's say, a specific period in history, that they can immerse themselves in a historical period and really learn about something and then sort of grow from there, rather than having the bling and the villa. That is one of my major concerns, that if the Facebook model is perhaps applied to the metaverse, then yeah, they give away an Oculus Rift in exchange for your data, and you can have all the mansions that you want, and you can sort of live your life in an awesome mansion, and before you know it, you're dead. You're dead, and you haven't read one interesting book or haven't learned about anything compelling, or haven't even tried to. I mean, I know this is a very dystopian picture that I'm painting here.
That is what people are like.
I'm just not that cynical, I suppose.
I guess I am. Maybe I have, because I have such a fantastic, wonderful life living in the greatest country in the world, Holland. That's why I find it so hard to understand why people want to use Second Life for their, sort of dream world that is so very much like soap operas and things like that. But, it's their right. And if that's what they want to do, they should do it. And I hope that one day, while they're in their amazing virtual villa, they suddenly happen to find a 1920s leaflet or a book, or they get a freebie and they think, oh, let's go and visit that place. And they suddenly accidentally learn stuff.
That would be great. As long as we can maintain diversity and creativity, I'm fine. Then people can live in their villas. The people who want to live in their villas, live in their villas. Anyway, before I'll give you an overview of the conference from my point of view of Tuesday, wanted to ask you, did you see Philip Rosedale's presentation about high fidelity?
Yes, I did.
How was that?
It was a bit like previous ones I've seen.
Can you see that he maybe, in short order, create the backbone of the metaverse and make everything else sort of obsolete and be sort of the king of the metaverse?
Well, I agree that eventually it all has to come together, because that's what people will want. I mean, that's how the internet works. We all have only one computer and one internet, and we do everything with that.
No, but I was wondering if you think that this is where he's going, and that's the position that he wants to have, that the company wants to have, sort of that total backbone of the metaverse.
I think he wants to create a massive new virtual online world, but I don't see it working as something that future users won't be able to skip if they want to try something else.
Well, that's something that I didn't get to on my panel. My panel stayed a little bit on the surface, I have to admit, and it's hard to have that diversity on the panel and really drill down to the issues. So the folks that are on my panel, some of them already agreed to come on the show and do a more hard-hitting one-on-one.
Excellent.
So I'm looking forward to that.
So tell me a little bit about the general atmosphere. How many people were there anyway? Because on the video it was really hard to get an idea of the size of the whole thing.
Oh, that's really hard. I would say maybe a couple hundred people all together. Again, I teleported in, so to speak, a couple hours before my panel, and then I left a couple hours after, and I was constantly talking to people. It was quite small. The demos, they were all in one concentrated area, and the demos were really, really compelling, to be honest. And there were almost no women.
It's not very good for the reputation of VR being something for those little geeky boys.
The interesting thing for me, because I'm not a gamer. These were all gamers. They all talked in sort of that game framing, and we'll hear a little bit later with James Hill of the interview I did. What's the difference sort of between, again, a world and a game? Mm-hmm. What I was gonna say is that, not surprisingly, everyone was about a singular experience. And when I probed them about the metaverse, lots of people didn't really think about this as something that they were missing. So they were all about, oh, look at this roller coaster ride, or look at this fishing experience, or look at this underwater thing, or look at this business meeting.
Yeah, that's why last week I think I suggested this advertisement campaign where Second Life would show these things, and then a tagline saying we've been doing this for over a decade. Because, we have. And not only do we have virtual cinemas, but, these are cinemas that we can design and build ourselves, and we can share them with people all over the world. And the only thing they need is internet. And that's I think, the secret behind Second Life. Their strong point at the moment is that they've been trailblazing for such a long time, and everyone doesn't seem to realize it.
They really don't. They kind of missed that too. And Stefan Welke, a really nice guy from Germany who makes the Dive, the goggles where you slip in a cell phone. He said, he never got into Second Life purely for practical reasons. He was in school at the time. It was really demanding. He was aware of the hype, and he looked at it from the outside and thought it was interesting, but he never really experienced it just because he didn't have time. And now he's there in the VR resurgence and has no real reference points to what Second Life is, other than, of course, what the media tells him it is, which is either a place for perverts or for social weirdos. Also, this is, I think, an incredible opportunity, again, for Linden Lab to realize that not everybody has a fixed opinion. Basically, there are people who could be converted, in my mind. I actually tweeted yesterday to Nathan Burba from Servius, a company that makes, we'll talk a little bit later about it, hardware. Well, they use existing hardware, and they're sort of dabbling in platform and hardware, and they're kind of tight-lipped of what they're working on. But I sent him the Loki airship battle video that I did recently, which is kind of eye candy and lag-free, kind of very cool steampunk interaction. And he said, wow, this was made in Second Life? So he had no idea. And at the conference, I talked to him and said, Second Life is a lot more. He says, yeah, I know people can sort of chat there, but, we're more about game design. And I go like, okay, wait a minute. There's a lot more than you can do than chat. Anyway.
This means is that Linden Lab has to start preparing a massive advertisement campaign that they're going to release the second virtual reality headsets are going to hit the market.
Right, the consumer market, that's right.
Yeah, this is their chance to start from scratch.
Yes.
To get, to fix their reputation, to show the world that we're still around, that we've got all these things, and that they're ready for you to come and experience if you've got one of those headsets. Hello, here we are, remember us, we're not like that anymore, we've got something new, come on over.
Doesn't matter, you don't even acknowledge what you were anymore. That's what I would do if I were in charge. Yeah. And also, I would also put the creator up front and center, because you can be a creator. Yeah, you're not a game studio. You don't have millions of dollars, but you can be a creator.
Yeah, and, of course, lots of you Second Life, perhaps even a majority, don't want to create, but the idea, the option, having the option to build something yourself, I still think that is Second Life's strongest point.
I think you can convert a bikini pleasure-seeking individual from that to a creator if he's in there, He might start out as Ken, but then he might sort of form Ken Enterprises Incorporated within Second Life.
Yeah, true. And if you play games or if you try software, you are exploring a virtual reality that someone else built for you. Someone decided what you have to see. Someone is deciding what you have to experience, no matter how much freedom you've got. And in Second Life, you can explore your own living room.
Wait, but now we're going in circles. If I were to believe Palmer Lucky, my living room in Germany looks crappy. So why do I want to explore it?
Well, it does.
My dad's house is great. It has tile from the 1970s in orange.
You and I both live in slums, so...
Wait, I live in California, the greatest state in the greatest country. Oh, God, that's going to be... We got to do a meme or something. Now, let's move on. Before we go to Kaleo, the little Drax who tried all these toys for boys, I want to mention that what was the Cyberith and the Virtuix Omni, those treadmills, they were not at the conference. But the Infinitec. Infinitec, that's right. You know, I didn't try it, and neither did he, and I really regret that. It was in the corner. I was so busy, I totally missed it. But we will have these guys on the show, and I hope to actually drive up there and try it and do a full report because this thing looks really, really cool.
It is the holy grail of virtual reality movement, and I'll explain in short what it's like. We'll put a link on the website, of course, but it is a real omnidirectional treadmill. The only alternatives we've got at the moment are the OmniDisc and things like that. Technically, there are plastic discs that you slide about on. This is properly a treadmill where you can walk in all directions. And it's at a very early stage. The guys behind it, we spoke a bit, and they said this is just our very first model, and it's much too heavy, and it's all metal and wood, and it's much too expensive. But they're planning on making it quite small and portable and cheap. I would love to walk around 1920s Berlin for hours.
Exactly. Just after sort of your happy hour, slightly drunk from the Keller, walk over to the Brandenburg Gate, you probably kill a couple calories.
Yeah, or myself.
You're run over by the trambahn.
But the thing is, that's the great thing about technologies like this, is that they will reach out to a whole new audience. Let's be sexist and cliche and things about it. Let's talk about the soccer moms, which you Americans call it. Typical housewives who spends their days watching soaps, and making sandwiches for their kids. Talk about stereotypes.
Those do exist in Orange County.
They probably don't like computer games. They're not too interested into virtual worlds, things like that. But they spend 2 hours a day or a week on a treadmill while watching their television. I bet they would love to run through Paris, and it may be a gateway drug into virtual reality.
This may also be a gateway drug to realizing that you may not be in the greatest country on earth after all.
That's dangerous.
No, we don't want any revolution like that. Before you know it, they're going to tear up all the malls in Orange County and build some nice, pleasing architecture. Well, okay, let's go to my interview with my own intern, a very critical 10-year-old, not a 12-year-old like all the other attendees of the conference. Sorry, I had to say it again. I'm a failed comedian. Khalil tried almost everything at the expo, and so here he is with what was hot and what was not. Okay, Khalil, you tried out a lot of stuff, and let's start with the Oculus Dev Kit 2. And they had a thing where you sit down, and it was called Couch Potatoes.
It's called Couch Knights.
You saw yourself sitting in a couch.
Yeah, I controlled a little knight. I was playing against one of the people that was at the Oculus Rift station.
Yeah, so they had 2 chairs and 2 people had to play it against each other, but they were basically sitting.
Yeah.
The Dev Kit 2, how does it compare to the Dev Kit 1?
Better.
And now let's compare this right away with Morpheus from Sony in the back, and that was pretty cool, right?
That was good. You have the goggles on, and
are they lighter or heavier?
Not necessarily lighter, about the same. I don't like the feel of the Oculus as much as I like the feel of that, because it's kind of like a hat. You just set it on. The Oculus, you have to like strap it on and adjust the tightness. Morpheus, you kind of like in the back, I think.
The Morpheus has a wheel in the back to tighten. So. And then you had 2 controllers. They look like little magic wands with balls on top of it. We saw them at the Indiecade.
Yeah.
And so what do you do with them?
They're like your hands. You press certain buttons to grip. They're basically like the Razer Hydra, but wireless. You only basically used one button in the entire game.
What was the game?
You have to pick up swords and slice the limbs off practice dummies, or use a crossbow.
Why did you have 2 controllers?
Oh, for my both hands, I can take 2 swords.
Oh, I see.
I can punch the dummy, and I can actually walk around.
That's what I was gonna say. So Sony had kind of
no foot tracking whatsoever.
Right. Sony had a big area, and you could walk.
Not too much because the area wasn't big enough, but I would, if the cable was longer, I would have been able to walk around in the entire space. It was like a medieval castle.
They were tracking your position in the room as well with cameras. Then you tried tactical haptics, where you actually get feedback. Can you describe what that is?
Well, like when I was on the roller coaster, when it does like a turn.
What do you have in your hands?
Like 2 little controller thingies.
What does it do? You feel the feedback.
Kind of the movement, yeah. It mimics the movement, but not as extreme of the movement.
What do you mean movement? Like well,
like
what do you feel?
on the dummy demo, when I cut the dummy's arm, it takes a little while to go through the arm, and when it comes out, the two little haptic things move like that. It's like the friction feedback.
Okay, so you feel the friction when it goes through the dummy's arm.
Or whatever.
So there's resistance, and then all of a sudden, once you're through, it just goes. That's their reactive grip motion controller.
And also in the gun demos, there's a total pushback. Like when you fire a gun, it goes like that.
Okay, and then you went to the booth of Sixth Sense.
There was the a shooting demo, which was really fun because I like grabbing the objects, and you can actually grab them and throw them. And
you grab the guns from the table in front of you.
And there are also like boxes in the room and stuff.
So how do you grab them?
Just like a button. Like a trigger button right there.
It's a button on the controller.
Yeah.
It's not like the Leap where you curl your fingers around an object. Unfortunately, you have to kind of press the button and then you see the hand on the screen.
Yeah.
You never played that many gun games ever in your life.
No.
At least in one day.
There was one more called The Gallery, 6 Elements. That was the best game of everything, probably.
What was that like? That's in the Sixth Sense booth still?
Yes, that's an interactive adventure game. I played that with the Razor Hydras. There's one part where you have to grab like stones and stuff around you. And you actually have to press the trigger, pull back your arm, and like swing it and release at the right moment so it comes out. It's actually really hard. What the gallery is, there's different pictures, and you are an urban adventurer, and you are able to go into those pictures, and each picture is like of a different element. Like, I think I was in the Earth element one.
Let's go to Prio VR.
There's motion tracking on your joints. So you have a motion tracker on the top of your hand, and you have a motion tracker like between your hand and your elbow. It's little interconnected pieces with cables. It's kind of annoying having all the cables. If that were wireless, that would be awesome. Tracking on my arms, my head, back of my head.
What do you have on your head?
Oh, I have like a kind of a headband, and then on the back of my head I have a little motion tracker.
Do you see the character in third person?
I think I can switch to third person, but we didn't do that.
So when you hold out your arms in front of you, you see your arms inside the demo.
Like you can completely do any movement. You can dance too.
Compared this to Sony Morpheus, you weren't able to walk around that much, right? It was a kind of a... Was it?
I got to walk around much more because you walk around with the controller.
You fast forward through the environment with the controller?
Yeah.
You don't actually walk, you stand still and you press buttons on the controller and that moves you forward within the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you don't really walk. At the Sony demo you walked, right?
Yeah, but you can only walk a little bit because there's a giant cable on it. And
Yeah, the cable.
I hate all these stupid cables.
That's interesting feedback because then one guy from Game Phase Labs.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to, I guess, your favorite. But before, a German developer by the name of Stefan Welker, he had a thing called The Dive. His company's Durovis. What was The Dive?
It was...
You slip a cell phone. He had a he had an iPod Touch.
Yeah, it was okay.
Why was it only
it's
okay?
Very simple.
So?
I saw another one there, but I like the Seabright one better.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Seabright had one where you can see the outside.
Yeah.
You had mirrors that were reflecting it downward in front of you, and you could see the surrounding reality, but you still saw the game.
I like that
game.
better.
Yeah.
I don't always like complete block off unless.
Is it scary because you don't see?
No, I just like it better. For iPhone games, I don't want to have complete block out.
But the Dive is pretty light, and it's you can adjust it nicely.
So is the Seabright.
Yeah, the Seabright is pretty light too.
I can just wear it around because there's the little lenses. I can just clip that up.
So you can wear it on your head, and if you clip the lenses up, you have full normal surroundings, and if you click the lenses downward, you have the projection of the mobile device screen in front of your face.
But even when I'm playing the game, I can still see through the lenses that I'm
behind
playing.
you. Yeah. It's just
so I can
projected.
see the game and what's in front of me too. I think they said they're making a collapsible version, and if it just becomes like glasses and phones become mini, I would just like clip it in the glasses, just play it and still see everything around me.
With Seabright, you can see through, and you have all these options, and it's very light.
But for immersive computer games, I wouldn't really want to do that. Because if I want to be immersed in the game, which most iPhone games, I'm not really that immersed. Most iPhone games are not very good.
But you can stream other games into the mobile device via the mirroring your computer screen. That is also... with Splashtop, we talked about this on the podcast last time. That's theoretically possible. And they're streaming it also with a wireless connection from a computer. But now, the best you like is the Game Phase Labs.
Yeah.
Can you describe the Game Phase Labs?
So, they kind of took the design of the Oculus, made it not as chunky in the front. They made it just like smooth like a visor. White and black. All the games are stored inside the visor. The visor is not much thicker than the Oculus Rift.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a computer built into the visor.
Yeah.
Built into the head-mounted display. Yeah.
And there's like 3 buttons on there. His demos were 360 videos. A video where you can turn your head and you see the entire video.
A real-life video of a hot air balloon show somewhere in England, in rural England, and you saw people walking through the field. You saw the hot air balloons getting ready.
You could like play the games with any wireless Bluetooth controller. Like he had a white and black PlayStation controller because it kind of matched the colors. What he said. But you can basically use any console controller.
Did you like that best because A, it was wireless, B, it fit nicely?
I hate the Oculus Rift cables. They're terrible.
It comes down to the cables. Yeah, I understand. You did not try high fidelity?
Sadly not.
Neither did I.
I don't think they were even letting people try it. I don't even know what the demo was because I just saw like someone called Andrew, I think.
Yep.
Nobody even demoing it at all.
Didn't they have a Prio VR kit?
They did.
Yeah.
But it was just Andrew just like showing the people.
Yeah. They didn't let people
use it.
Well, because you need an avatar.
Could have used the demo avatar.
But that's Andrew's avatar.
They could have made a demo avatar and called it like demo avatar or something.
We don't know that. They probably did. But
I was seeing that booth the whole time.
Right.
Nothing.
So that was Kaleo who had a blast. I have to add that the Seabright headset that was mentioned is probably the only one that represented a bit of augmented reality at the conference, because the smartphone screen that gets projected downward onto transparent or mirror lenses, they let you see what is around you, and also they let other people see your eyes, which is interesting. So you're not closed off to your surroundings. And these guys also make their own controller. We're going to have them on the show in a few weeks. Now, another thing that he didn't mention was Technolust. He told it to me afterwards. Technolust is a kind of a cyberpunk adventure game, which is really awesome. And that's one of those things that I think you could probably make in Second Life if you had those experience tools that they're coming out with soon. It would be so awesome if, like, Matt P or Loki or people like of that caliber would build something like that in Second Life, and then you can experience it with your own avatar, and it's not just a standalone game. But at this point, Technolust is definitely, I think, the best implementation of sort of immersive adventure games with the Oculus. Another couple things that I want to mention: a Spanish manufacturer of head-mounted displays called Viralia. Just like the Dive, they have also a Go version where you pop in a smartphone. Also, Unelo Design, nothing with shooting. The demos were beautiful. There's a meditation demo. You can actually download it from the guy's website if you have an Oculus. It's great music. Again, a singular experience. Again, this could also be done in Second Life. No doubt about it. You just sit there and you listen to music and things pop up on the screen. Very effective, simple, but beautiful. And here, Joe, this I want to tell you. If you have $4,500 US.
No.
Okay, forget it then. Matterport is a 3D camera for $4,500, and you can capture your living room, your entire house in minutes, and then you have a 3D model, and then you can customize that 3D model. You can change the textures. You can create floor plans instantly. It's really, really pretty crazy awesome. You could recreate your apartment in minutes.
This would be great for new users and people who are experiencing Second Life for the very first time with their Oculus Rift that they've only just bought. Because it is, get your own bit of land, recreate your home and invite your friends. And, this is the same sort of technology that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago with my friend who works in forensics, solving murders and things like that. They had this something like this for years, but of course, it costs tens of thousands of dollars.
When I look at Linden Lab, they're probably looking at all these devices coming on. They go like, okay, which one should we work on? Who's going to be the winner that we can spare an engineer to kind of implement it for our world? But and I have no idea of the technical details. But this Matterport thing, if the price comes down, and they're hinting at the fact that you can do this with a cell phone, basically just waving the cell phone around, and boom, you have a model of your entire house.
I am convinced that perhaps already you should be able to do things like this with small cameras, basic digital cameras, mobile phones.
Let's move on to an interview I did at the conference with James Iliff from Servios, I hope I pronounced this correctly. It's a very interesting company that came out of a project at USC which was called Project Holodeck, and they recently received a round of funding of, I think, $4 million. James is quoted as saying in a recent article, "We build VR experiences that don't tether you to a couch or a chair." Now, that's good. If you want something that's like the holodeck or the Matrix, you really have to be able to use your body naturally, not just the buttons.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for a while now. Forget about joysticks and buttons and wearable devices.
Currently, they don't have a product out. They have some zombie demo games, and there's some videos up there where they use existing hardware. They combine it, but they're very secretive about what they're building. If they're building a platform, if they're building a hardware device or something that makes hardware obsolete, some sort of complete motion capture that is somehow really unobtrusive. Mm-hmm. Project Holodeck, by the way, started with Nathan Burba, who is the co-founder and CEO of Servios, and wouldn't you know it, Palmer Luckey at the time.
I know the name.
I had a brief conversation with James, which was a little bit more philosophical about games versus worlds and metaverses, and I hope we can have him on as soon as he can say more about the actual product, which he couldn't. I did start with a kind of a provocative question that I asked a lot at the conference. What can you offer me that I can't already do in Second Life? Experience-wise, yeah, role play, shooting, virtual chat, and businesses, casinos. I mentioned casinos to him, and then later in the interview, he's gonna tease me about it. So James revealed some interesting perspective on how the game design crowd looks at us as world residents. I apologize for the audio. My recorder gave out and one microphone died in the back, so you hear me very low, so you got to turn up the speakers. Here's James Iliff.
It's important to sort of separate two concepts, which is having a persistent, large, infinite world, and then also having immersive hardware. So those are two very different things. So having a persistent world, that's like Second Life, World of Warcraft, these types of things, MMOs or non-games, where people can simulate real-life environments. You could have a casino, these types of things, which is great, because I'm sure gambling in Second Life is probably just as awesome as real life. But then, at the same time, there's also...
I shot myself in the foot by pulling that out, because there's much more than gambling. I just used something fairly lame, because I did see a Kickstarter recently.
Right.
Hey, we have virtual casinos. I go, oh, come on, give me a break. Okay.
Well, the thing is, that adjective virtual is often used to refer to many different things. And sometimes it's the persistent world, sometimes it's immersive hardware. So having
But what are you doing? What are you making?
So we're focusing on the immersive hardware. So being able to track your body, your hands, your feet, your head, your torso, these types of things. So being able to move around with a immersive VR headset. So having really wide field of view visuals. This is what gives you a sense of presence and like this sense of embodiment. So you have this avatar embodiment going on. So whether that's in a giant world or whether that's in, a tiny little scene where you're in like just a park or something, it's gonna feel really, really insanely immersive. So those are like the two separate ideas that when you say virtual reality that comes to mind, and it's easy to kind of accidentally like mesh those two separate concepts together and say, virtual reality has to be insanely like this crazy a crazy immersion rig that you have all of your body with haptics and all this kind of craziness, and a giant persistent world like the metaverse. In reality, you don't necessarily need both to have a cool experience, and they're actually kind of very separate experiences. So if you could gamble with, like having immersive technology where it's tracking your hands and you could roll the dice in a virtual casino, that might be kind of cool. But I don't know. I don't know if that's probably not the best example.
You guys are going to create experiences,
right?
That then I can purchase or rent or whatever. Can I also do my own thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, we want to enable experiences. So we are creating our own to show off sample projects and these types of things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, ultimately, we want to have a framework in place for anyone to be able to make what they truly want to make, and that's going to be the biggest step forward, I think.
But in a separate, you said that the experiences don't have to be necessarily continuous like a metaverse. They can be separate instances.
Well, I think having them together is awesome. Having a persistent universe and super immersive hardware, that's obviously...
I want everything connected.
Absolutely.
See, that's where I'm coming from.
That's the coolest thing. I'm just trying to clarify two separate concepts that oftentimes people tend to blend when they say, oh, you're creating a virtual world? What does that mean? Does that mean you're using a VR headset with Razer Hydro controllers and creating a virtual world? Or does it mean you're creating a Second Life or PlayStation Home kind of thing where a million people can join a server at once? So those are two very different things and oftentimes referred to as VR. So just being able to clarify that, but yeah, having them together I think would be so cool. I just happen to think that the majority of the content coming out from an entertainment perspective will probably be more of like the short form, like 30-minute to 2 hour game that's played in VR and it's in smaller scenes, or you play it on your PC or you play it at home, or it could happen really anywhere, but that's going to be a little bit closer to the traditional entertainment sort of medium that we have. But then on the flip side of that, it's just going to be socializing. So there's entertainment and there's socializing. And people are going to be able to socialize in a way that's, of course, far more immersive, as we've seen, like with the things that High Fidelity is working on. You can, have a sense of avatar embodiment and have more ownership of your character that makes you feel a bit more connected and have a bit more agency in the environment, which I think is, the closer you get to real life in that respect, the better.
I guess sometimes we ask ourselves in world, why do people make separate experiences? Like you were saying, and you made a good argument for it, but why do people make that when I have the possibility for a metaverse, where I can have it all, where I can walk over from the casino to a music club, or then to a sandbox and build a car and then ride off of it.
Well, I guess it's the question of why do some people play Call of Duty and why do some people play Second Life? And I think,
my son is a gamer, and he swaps from Mirror's Edge to Minecraft.
Right.
And I can't do that. I want my avatar to be with me.
I know. Yeah. You want that persistence between your different experiences.
Exactly.
Right?
It's just like when I go from here to Europe, I want to be in the same body.
You want to be the same body, right? You don't want it to be a different character, a different thing.
I have a mustache.
Right. No, that's totally. I mean, that's a very interesting thing, and I think it's sort of a holdover from other mediums like the film and theater, where you're used to seeing other characters, and so therefore in a lot of games you're used to playing multiple characters, and it's kind of like just a fact of life. But I think there is something really there that you're really hitting a powerful point where there is a lot of intrinsic value to having a consistent identity across multiple universes or online worlds or experiences or games. And I think you could certainly enable that. And a lot of consoles and recent hardware have been trying to do that. Like if you look at the Nintendo Miiverse, that's their attempt to like give you like an identity and try to make it somewhat consistent, even regardless of all the crazy random third-party titles that are on there.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kinect. Like Kinect is a very limited version. PlayStation Home, you kind of have a character. So there's these interesting attempts to kind of do that, and I think that's very, that's a valiant effort, and I think it's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, like entertainment's always going to be entertainment, and social worlds are always going to be social worlds, and you're never going to completely be able to enmesh them unless you have the worldwide collaboration of every third-party developer ever. Or maybe there's a simpler solution to that.
If we empower amateurs, because this is sort of my thing, and I come from the music business, and I remember my friends who own recording studios, some of them are still totally pissed off at the fact that you have a recording studio built in now your mobile device, basically. They went out of business.
Man.
And others have adjusted. I always use this example. A good friend of mine bought a grand piano for $50,000, and so he can offer a room, which is great. He has a piano that is great. They're probably sort of a teenage band probably doesn't have at home.
Yeah.
So they can track their other stuff, but they have to go to him. So he's basically going with the times.
Yeah.
But for you guys, game design folks, why can't amateurs play at the table? I'm not saying that you did say that, but in Second Life, there's a lot of people, they create their own stuff. And I have seen game designers sneer at that. They go like, I understand. Let the amateurs kind of do their thing, but it's like, it's not serious, basically.
Well,
they need us. They need us to create top-notch entertainment for them.
Well, you can... Okay, well, this is actually really... You're hitting a really interesting point, because there's a lot of contention about that right now in the industry. And I would say, a pure game designer or an engineer, it's kind of like saying, hey, why can't the everyman be an architect or a mechanical engineer or an architectural engineer? Like, why can't anyone just make buildings? It's like, well, because 50% of the time they may fall over and kill people, right? And so you don't want that to happen.
That's true.
So in a way, game design is a craft, like a lot of those professional skills, like doctors and accountants and architects. And there is a lot of deep design work that goes in a lot of nuanced skill that goes into crafting like these loops of challenge and reward that keep people engaged on a consistent level. But on the flip side, the community can make user-generated content all day. They can make the really cool, World of Warcraft sword. They can make that crazy, awesome laser gun that you can then port into your game. So on the content side, like this is something that Steam and Valve is enabling a lot, is they're allowing community members to design their own art and then port it into Team Fortress 2 or the game. So the community is participating. They're just not participating in the game design. They're participating in the environment and the art creation, just not the game design. So it's a little different,
No, I understand, and I totally see your point, but it doesn't excite me as much as what someone who never had the opportunity to make something. Now that they're given these tools, these democratized tools, maybe something really cool comes out, or maybe something half-assed comes out, or maybe something terrible comes out.
Right.
But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
That your colleagues dismiss it, just like a journalist dismisses a blogger. They go, let these books.
Well, see, that's
ridiculous.
The thing. I don't think it's dismissal. I just think it's a different way of categorizing things.
Mm-hmm.
So, people have to be able to categorize things, because if we can't categorize, we're not going to be able to recognize what's different and be able to apply those things. So for a journalist, some journalists, I'm sure, think blogging is stupid.
Yeah.
But they're living under a rock if they think that, because blogging is taking over the world, and that's how people get their information these days. And that's, people read the Wall Street Journal blog before they read the Wall Street Journal piece of paper that they pull out.
I'm sorry
right?
to interrupt, but now I would also say, having also dabbled in journalism, that I don't want blogs to. I'm going to make the same argument that you made for the game folks.
Okay.
There's a lot of time that goes into, for example, investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Research. You have to be in a different country. You have to go in there. You write for months and months. A single blog.
It's a craft and a very specific skill.
It's a lot of labor and shoe leather and involved, and one blogger, as well-intentioned as he may be with the proper scoop from his basement, cannot replace this other thing.
Oh, of course not.
So
no one's saying that they can replace each other.
No, I'm shooting myself in the foot.
But they do have to live side by side. I
want game design to be replaced by Second Life. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, this is a really fascinating conversation, because in a way, these analogies do work out really well, because almost like the difference between, investigative journalism and the blogger is almost the difference between like the hardcore game design and the independent artist or the art designer, where I see, and I use the word art not in the capital A art sense, but more just like the art as opposed to craft, where I see where you do have like the amateur who has an experience that they want to impart by making a game, and the game isn't a AAA title Call of Duty, but that's not the point. The point is to give a message, and so that's where something becomes more, it gets inches closer on the art side and less on the game side, because their goal isn't to make this really tight, like ludic loop of challenge and reward that gets players caught up in it and say, play my game, play my game, play my game. No, they're just trying to give you a message. They don't really care about the professional craft and skills that go into making a game, because they're not trying to make a game in that sense, you know what I mean? So it's like a blogger necessarily isn't trying to dig deep into a particular culture and give a very like layered and deep expose on something.
But
they're just trying to give some general thoughts on some things and speak their voice, so it's a different category.
No, but some bloggers are actually doing that too.
Well, I'm sure there's crossover. There's all kinds of.
And some people in Second Life create games with exactly that kind of, at least they want to get there, and some are, and some people are professional programmers and scripters, and
One final word, and then I'll leave you alone.
What I didn't catch in the beginning, are you also making hardware, or are you utilizing the existing hardware?
Oh, for what we're doing?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, what we're really focusing on is the user experience and making that absolutely very clear and accessible to people. And so the hardware is really just kind of, it's almost a side effect. It's like, if the hardware delivers, then we use it. If it doesn't deliver, we don't use it. But we don't get.
Available, and then you just test it out.
Right. I mean, we're not married to any particular type of ideology per se. So as long as we can create something that's truly immersive, that really makes it feel like you're there, then that's what we're going to be pursuing. So
thank you so much for speaking to me,
and leave them amateurs alone. Don't diss them. All right, so that was James Iliff. We're at the end of the show. It's fascinating. Needless to say, we will link to the professional videos of SVVR of all the panels. I think they're putting them together now. All the panels, including mine. And, please comment and let me know how much I sucked as a moderator. Joe, a few things we didn't get to. You posted a fabulous post for Fort Tüngen, which is in Second Life, and they're using it with kids. Can you explain a bit what's going on here?
Well, basically, there is a castle or a fortress, somewhere in Luxembourg, and it's sort of a museum. And the people have created a virtual reconstruction of it in Second Life, and they're using it to educate and to let kids explore it, and they've even got computers inside the fortress where these kids can explore the virtual recreation of what it used to look like.
Within the actual castle, where they have sort of an array of computers, and the kids can log on to the virtual version in Second Life and then experience it.
It combines the two things that I find most interesting and important about Second Life. History and education.
Again, such a no-brainer to use it that way, and still so many people can't wrap their head around how just exciting this stuff is out there in the real world. I mean, not the enthusiasts, not the converted that we're preaching towards.
These are the kind of stories that we have to share with the outside world.
Also, a new Oculus knockoff out of China, of all places. Wouldn't you know it? They have a Kickstarter going on right now. It's a wireless head-mounted display. It comes with a backpack. It comes with a gun that doubles as a controller or a grenade launcher or sword. And I have 2 sound bites that I have to play. And as a foreigner, I can make fun of other foreigners' accents, right? Can't I? The founder is a sci-fi fan.
Hi, I'm Qin Zheng. I'm a sci-fi fan. I love virtual reality. As a maker, I want to bring any idea into reality. I have been researching on virtual reality for years. Last year, I quit my PhD and devoted myself into the development of VR kits.
This is from the Kickstarter video. Best of all, concerning this new headset, which goes by the name of VR, you can wear glasses The thing fits snugly over glasses.
It doesn't matter if you wear glasses or not. Just put on the headset. There is enough space for your glasses. Of course, using your own glasses is the best way for you to see.
So that's AntVR. The competition is mounting in the display market. Also, Drew Carey, comedian and TV host, is still using Second Life. Why is this news?
Because I hate the word, but he is a celebrity. You know, he is a famous person, at least in America he is. People who have a public personality that people know using Second Life, that they talk about it. This guy has about 600,000 followers on Twitter who now all know that he's in Second Life. He used to be very public about it. He used to make videos about it and mention it in interviews that he's in Second Life. That's why I asked him, I said, are you still using Second Life? And, he still is. So that is good to hear. And I keep asking Stephen Fry, who's a lot more famous and who's a really lovely bloke, if he is still using Second Life. I haven't had an answer yet. But it doesn't matter why these people are famous or if we personally like them or not. You have to think of it as a PR sort of value. If someone who has a lot of followers and who is well known tells the public, yes, I'm using Second Life and it's fantastic, that is good for Second Life's reputation. And if, Stephen Fry would do that
would really validate Second Life a lot.
He is known as a gadget freak, technology lover. He's got about 6 million followers on Twitter. He's very funny, he's very educated, he's very intelligent. And he is not the kind of user that the outside world thinks uses Second Life. So that will be a fantastic PR stunt.
You can do this, Joe. You can. You just have to bug him, keep bugging him.
Linden Lab could.
You have more power.
They probably know his account. Ooh.
Lastly today, the most important website, it was already reported. We didn't report on it because we ran out of time last time. secondlifestock.com. Very important usage of virtual reality. Virtual reality proposed for chickens so they can feel as if they're free range, although they're trapped in cages. I think that's a marvelous idea. I think that's also akin going back to living in the greatest country on earth. So the chickens can feel they live in the greatest meadow on the planet, although they're actually trapped in a cage. So the Matrix for poultry, that's really nice. I wonder how they will market those eggs. Are they free range or what are they?
They're virtually free range.
We live in a crazy world, but it's nonetheless exciting. Okay, so that's it, Joe. What else are you up this weekend?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm too busy preparing for the 5th anniversary of the 1920s Berlin Project.
Oh my God, 5 years.
5 years.
That is amazing. And you're fully rented, so to speak.
Berlin has been pretty much fully occupied since day one. And, it's also been paying its own bills since day one.
See, the sky is not falling. Isn't that interesting?
Well, not in Berlin anyway.
All right, so we're going out today with Noni de la Peña, immersive journalist who builds amazing experiences that cover important social issues such as police violence and poverty and the conflict in Syria. She built together with Peggy Weil way back in 2007 the virtual Guantanamo project in Second Life. Here she is with her post-mortem after surviving the very first SVVR conference as one of maybe 5 women. All right, that's it for the show. Thanks, Joe. Have a great weekend.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And here's Noni.
The energy at SVVR was extraordinary. That feeling that we're, entering a new era and it's just beginning was incredibly exciting. Of course, I always want to see more women, and I hope that who's ever listening next time they go to one of these tech conferences will go, hey, who's an interesting woman I know who likes tech? Maybe I'll invite her to come. I'll point her at this conference. And maybe that's a way to start changing the all-male dominated landscape. I really, really commend Carl Crouch and the organizers of SVVR because they did a remarkable job at bringing all that excitement from the sale of the Oculus into the room. Most of the applications you saw, of course, were immediately, okay, we're making this all for first-person shooters. And I do make pieces that have been incredibly well received that are journalism pieces. I've been making nonfiction stories about Syria, about the death of migrants on the border. I've been making these very important stories in virtual reality for a long time, and it works. The thing is that there is room for an array of types of experiences using virtual reality. Take Journey. top-selling game. Nothing to do with first-person shooters, and so I would have liked to see more diversity on that front. But I can't complain about how much I enjoyed slicing up the night in with swords in Project Morpheus. I liked the goggles in Project Morpheus. I liked how they fitted on your head. I liked the way that they slid very easily back and forth for adjustment for my vision. The only problem with all of these goggles is they're too big. They are, again, taking women in consideration. And interestingly, I had one company say to me, we've asked the Oculus to make smaller headsets because we have this huge Asian population we're trying to service. But I can't complain. I'm as bad as anybody else for wanting to do a sword fight with my whole body, which is actually more fun than I think just a gun shooting. Because the sword fight, actually, you've got your whole body and you want to kick and hit, and that's really fun. Yet, I think that there's room for extraordinary array of stories using these new technologies, and I would have liked to see a few more demos on that front. So my panel was a startups panel, and we were discussing, how do you get started doing a startup, and what are some of the pitfalls and what are some of the takeaways? If you're a startup and you're in this, just beginning in this business, and you feel like you've got a really great idea, the best thing to go out and really make things happen is not to kind of say, hey, listen to me and this is what I've got, but to hear what other people have, especially in a place like SVVR, where you've got amazing people all gathered in one room. Listen to what they're interested in and what they're trying to do, and then think about how can you help them? And maybe that there's some synergy there that can make all boats rise.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Leap Motion, SL Go by On Live, Stitcher, Bot Girls Identity Circus, Caravel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Escapades, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Nantra, Angel Red Couture, Fallen Gods Incorporated, What's Next, Abacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Special thanks to Void Pointer Linden for providing the station ID this week. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.